So Operation Dread Factor has finally arrived, and of course it has brought us a brand new battle pass. Now, some of you may be disappointed to learn that there is no lore skins in this battle pass at all. However, there is still lore descriptions which does carry the story forward, and honestly, despite this battle pass not having any lore skins, there is surprisingly more lore than it seems like there was in previous battle passes. We get to see a lot of the reactions of some other operatives and their view of Fenrir joining Redhammer. It seems like a lot of the ops actually disagree with this. We see Nighthaven's reaction to Deimos and what happened to Team Rainbow. This is the first time we've seen anything from Nighthaven ever since Deimos emerged as a character. And it also seems like we finally get to tie up the story between Grim and Nøkk and see how Nøkk reacted after the comic book where Grim threatens to reveal Nøkk's identity to the world. So let's go straight into the lore of this battle pass, and we're first going to start at the story tab of the battle pass itself, where it gives us a little introduction. And this is from the point of view of Fenrir. And what it says is, I'm used to being doubted. You could say that's how Deimos got to me. He did not question my intentions or fight my ideas. He manipulated me. I did not see his shadow until it was too late, and my colleagues paid the price. How could I let it happen? That is not who I am. I had to remember that. I may not be able to undo what he did, but I can help ensure he is stopped. That is why I looked for Rainbow. My ambitions can wait. With Redhammer, I can make things right, if they let me. I can't blame anyone for doubting me or my intention. Military service was never my priority. All I can offer is what I have: information, experience, and an intimate relationship with fear. And that is the little introduction from Fenrir himself of how he got to Team Rainbow and his clear regret he has for helping Deimos because he was manipulated, and how he wants to make things right. And that he says he can't blame anyone for doubting him, and we know that there is a lot of people that have doubted him. We know from his bio that Kaze does not agree with him, and as you'll see in this battle pass, a lot of operatives, some even outside of Redhammer, also do not agree with him and don't really want him on the team. So moving on, we have more from Fenrir, and he is talking about Kapkan and how Kapkan is one of the few people who doesn't mind Fenrir. And what he says about Kapkan is one of the few who wasn't bothered by my joining. He calls me puppy. I'm not sure if he's mocking me or being nice. And obviously the reason why he calls him puppy is because Fenrir is a wolf in Norse mythology. So I see it in a playful way how he's just calling him that as a friend, you know, as like a little nickname. Instead of calling him like this big bad wolf, he's calling him a puppy. It also kind of gives me vibes of how sort of like a power dynamic of how people may see Fenrir as this big strong wolf, but to Kapkan he's just a little puppy because Kapkan is the stronger person. But I think a friendship between Fenrir and Kapkan is going to be something that's quite interesting to see being developed as we go forward. And on the topic of Kapkan, he has something to say about Deimos, and he says Deimos isn't hunting, he's playing with us. So that goes to show that someone even like Kapkan kind of sees Deimos as the threat which he is, and even he understands what he's doing isn't even hard for Deimos, to the point where he's basically playing with them. We have a little bit here about both Alibi and Maestro. We'll start with the one from Alibi, and what she says is, I know a thing or two about misdirection. I'm not ready to trust Fenrir. And I find it really interesting that we're getting insights from operators who aren't even in Redhammer, because Alibi is part of viperstrike, and even she is saying she doesn't trust Fenrir. So I find that really interesting that we're getting insight from other operators, and it just goes to show that the squads do communicate. That was one of the things we weren't really aware of, if the squad did communicate in the same way they did before when they were all just Team Rainbow. But I think this is a nice little confirmation that the squads do have the same level of communication as before. Now on the topic of Alibi, we actually have Maestro talking to Alibi, and what he says is, I appreciate what you're doing, Arya, but I don't need you mothering me. I'm fine. So I think this is a continuation where Alibi seems to kind of be trying to comfort Maestro, but he seems to really not want it. Here we have one from Thermite talking to Twitch, and he's talking about Fenrir's gadget, the FNAT Dreadmine, and what he says is, concerns heard. Attached is one FNAT Dreadmine model, sync with Lion, and get back to me with results. So it seems like Twitch and Lion are going to be investigating some stuff around Fenrir's FNAT Dreadmine, and it'll be really interesting to see what results we get from that. And can you imagine like if you mix Lion and Fenrir's gadget? Because I know in the game they're on opposing teams, but in universe they work together. Well, they can work together because Lion's part of wolfguard and Fenrir is part of redhammer, so they're not in the same squad, but they can work together. And I feel like if they use both of those gadgets in the field, it would be really interesting. Here's a really nice one from Fenrir, and it's just a little quote, and it says, fear is a fascinating emotion. It stares into the core of a person and forces a choice: grow or forever be trapped. I just think that's a really cool one, and as you may have seen in my operator bio video for Fenrir, I really do like Fenrir. I like his backstory, and I think he is a really interesting character. We have one from Jackal here, and he says, when you work with an informant, you don't give them a badge. I hope Redhammer knows what they're doing. So he is going against the entire thing which Thermite done. Thermite obviously let Fenrir into Redhammer. Jackal's saying, when you work with an informant, you don't automatically let them on the team. You just use their information. So here we have another viperstrike operator showing their concerns about Fenrir. And we actually have a little interesting one here from Lion to Jackal, and it says, "A final warning, Ryad, take those vacation days, or I'll be knocking on your door to put you to sleep myself." So it seems like ever since Deimos has become a threat, Jackal has been overworking a bit and not taking time off, and it seems like people such as Lion are getting worried about that and want him to take some time off. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Jackal reacts to all of this as well, and it'll be quite interesting to see how it goes in the future, because it is clear that he seemingly is overworking and other operators are worried about that. Next we have one from Twitch, and as a wolfguard operative, it seems like she is showing some worry about Fenrir as well. She says, "I'd like to sit down with Fenrir, nerd to nerd, hear what his research motivations are for myself." Again, I just find it very interesting that it's not only operators on redhammer which are quite concerned about Fenrir, it seems to be everyone across the board. We've heard now about viperstrike and wolfguard operators kind of worried about Fenrir joining, and it seems like Twitch wants to have a little conversation with him herself. Now, before we get into the Nighthaven information, we have some really interesting ones about Nook, and this is continuing the story arc of where Grim finds Nook's location and her identity and uses it as blackmail against both Nook and Team Rainbow. So we have a very simple but blunt one, and it says, "Where the hell is Nook?" And that's Maverick saying that. Of course, both of those operators are working together in ghosteyes. And it seems like we have a response from Kavera, who is the leader of ghosteyes, and she says, "Nook is on leave. I will not be answering any questions." So then we have confirmation that after Nook snuck onto Nighthaven's base, stole the data key to see if they were responsible for Yhata's death, and then Grim tracked Nook to her home and threatened her, this has caused Nook to go on leave, and it seems like she's stepping away from the action for the time being. That is very interesting to learn in this battle pass, and it seems like we finally have a bit of closure to that story arc, but I have a feeling that this is not over, and we're going to see some more interactions between both Grim and Nook in the future. Right, so the final part of this battle pass lore we have here is all from Nighthaven. We get to see what their view is after Team Rainbow were attacked by Deimos, and basically what they are currently doing. So this one's just a little throwaway one, and it's also talking about Ace, and what she says is, "Credit where it's due. Hoagland's idiocy is keeping the mood light." So it seems like the mood is quite low at Nighthaven for some reason, and it seems like Ace, being the sort of idiot he is making Osa a bit more happy. But this next one is very interesting. We get Callie's entire perspective basically on the whole Deimos situation and if Nighthaven are going to get involved. And what she says is, if Rainbow wants to mess, they are welcome to it. We have other business to attend to. And that right there is very interesting. We have just learned that Nighthaven seemingly aren't going to get involved with Rainbow, even though a lot of their past colleagues are injured, one of them in a coma. Not even the ex-Rainbow operatives have said anything, and it seems like Nighthaven aren't going to help Rainbow. I find that very surprising. I thought that they were going to help Rainbow and they were going to join back together. I still do think that eventually one day that they are going to start working together again, but right now I find it very interesting that they aren't seemingly going to help Rainbow in a very dire time. It's like, yeah, you're not contracted with them anymore, but like a lot of your colleagues used to be like good friends with people on Team Rainbow, and you're just gonna let this basically super villain run through them? I think Callie is better than that. And now we have a little bit from Osa, and she's talking about Callie, and this is after the solo raid animation where ghosteyes confront Callie on the runway of Nighthaven's base. And it says Callie isn't one to be caught off guard, and she isn't one to forget. So it seems like she is going to be holding a grudge against ghosteyes, and I guess Team Rainbow as a whole, after what they've done on Nighthaven's base and on the runway. And finally we have one from Ace, and what he says is, "Don't tell Callie, but I'm glad Rainbow took that mission. The explosion could have damaged my moneymaker," and he's of course talking about his face. But damn, that is quite a rich thing to joke about when a lot of your ex-colleagues were blown up in a blast and one of them is in a literal coma. I know that Ace has an ego, but my god, does someone need to punch him in the face. And yeah, that was a really interesting battle pass. We learned a lot. We finally got to see a somewhat conclusion to the Nook and Grim story arc. We learned that Nighthaven aren't going to be helping Team Rainbow. That's really surprising. And we learned that a lot of people don't really trust Fenrir. The only one we know so far is Capcan, but I assume there's more. Obviously, Thermite trusts them as well, so that's like 2 operators we know who trust Fenrir, which is quite bad. But yeah, just when I thought that we could predict where the lore is going, I assumed that Nighthaven was going to happily help Team Rainbow again and they were going to take down Deimos. This has kind of made it a bit more confusing, and now Nook isn't even operating, she's on leave. So be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these new pieces of lore we have learned. There's going to be more very soon, hopefully, so be sure to stay tuned for that and subscribe. And yeah, I'm going to be banging it out with the theories after this as well, so stay tuned for all that. Let me know your thoughts about all these pieces of lore we have learned in this battle pass. Stay tuned for more. Have a great day. I'll catch you all later. Peace.